Often, when we look back at historic atrocities, we ask ourselves, why did no one do anything to stop this? Why did the Germans allow the Holocaust to happen? How come the Japanese didn't oppose the brutal invasion of China and Korea? How could the British support colonialism? We ask ourselves these questions, blaming the people of the past, yet we fail to realize that future generations will ask the very same about us. We live in a world where politicians deem acts of genocide as too complex to take any action against. We live in a world where European suffering sparks outrage across news channels, but when the same thing happens to millions of Black, Asian, or Arab people, so-called journalists are silent. We live in a world where we look back, where we criticize the countless of slaughters brought upon by colonization found in our history books, yet we continue to fund white imperialism. We live in a world where people say, it's 2024, you should know better when someone is bigoted. When 2024 is really no different from 1788, 1910, or 1933. Because in 2024, aid trucks are prevented from entering Gaza, where millions of children are being starved to death. In 2024, 25 million Sudanese are in urgent need of humanitarian aid, and no one in the West bats an eye. In 2024, Uyghur Muslims are put in concentration camps, forced to break their fast during Ramadan, and drink alcohol. In 2024, trying to liberate yourself from oppression makes you a terrorist. And just under 1 year ago, in 2023, world leaders gave a standing ovation to a former SS general, all the while having the gall to say never again in 2024. Does never again only apply to the Europeans? Does it not apply to the Palestinians, the Yemenis, the Congolese? Let's take a look at Congo. We look back on Belgium's colonization of Congo with pure horror, but we see nothing when the EU, US, and Rwanda collectively contribute to an ongoing genocide in the very same country. In fact, all of us, including you and me, benefit from the unethically sourced minerals dug up by children in Congo. The situations in Congo, Yemen, Sudan, Palestine, China, the list goes on and on, aren't mere statistics or headlines. They're urgent humanitarian crises that demand our immediate attention. Yet they're met with indifference or dubbed as too complex or distant to warrant any action against. But when did the suffering of children become too complex to care about? And how can we claim these issues to be too distant when many of our own home countries are sending billions in aid to the oppressors? We cannot claim to have learned from mistakes from the past, let alone have the gall to say never again, when we allow history to repeat itself before our very eyes. We cannot claim to be champions of human rights when we turn a blind eye and contribute to oppression and injustice. And we certainly cannot claim to be better than previous generations when our actions, or lack thereof, mimic theirs. So how can we end the cycle of repeating history? The reason I decided to give this TED Talk today is that the theme of this conference, the modern revolution, lies within all of us. We, the youth, have the power to create significant change. It was 15-year-old Greta Thunberg who opened the world's eyes to the effects of climate change. It was young people who took to the streets when George Floyd and Breonna Taylor were murdered by police. Malala was only 17 years old when she won her Nobel Peace Prize. It was protests, mainly led by students, that forced the US to pull out of its war in Vietnam. And today, students of the very same institutions and all over the world are risking their futures to protest their university's involvement in Israel's war in Gaza. I was given this amazing opportunity to give a TED Talk today, and I refuse to use my platform in any other way. If we don't all collectively contribute, if we don't all collectively stand up for what's right, just how the students are doing right now, we're doomed to repeat history. If, however, we're given the power to, we can be the ones to dismantle the systems of oppression that are forcing history to be repeated all the time. We are young, full of life, hopes, dreams, and maybe we're just a tad bit too idealistic. But that is exactly what makes us so strong. Our passion, which is never stronger than it is during our youth, is what drives us to never give up on whatever it is that we're so passionate about. And what the world needs right now is passion for what is just. If we're passionate enough, we can be the ones who cut the funds for genocide. We can be the ones to make that switch to sustainable energy. And trust me, we will be the ones who make those choices. Because when older generations, full with people like Genocide Joe, are gone, we will be the ones who remain. The only question is, will we be the ones who make a change? Will we be the modern revolution? Thank you.